Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of WeEmpower. I'm thrilled to have you all with us today, so sit back and relax and get ready to be inspired. Let's make today count. In today's episode, we'll have great guests here to introduce. And first, we have Maximilian Ahrens here in our talk show. He drives digital transformation with a visionary mindset, combining entrepreneurial spirit and a passion for technological innovation. To stay tuned, what a great start into the talk show. Welcome, Maximilian, here in the radio show.
Well, thank you so much. Great to be here, Anabel.
So let me tell the audience a few words about you before we start and touch also the base with a song selected by you. So since January 2023, you are the managing director of the T-Digital at Deutsche Telekom, one of the most important worldwide player in telecommunications. Previously, you held the roles of CTO and VP Cloud Strategy at T-Systems, the corporate customer division of Deutsche Telekom. You have an entrepreneur background. Before joining T-System, you founded and sold the majority stake in a technology company for cloud infrastructure, which allowed customers to deploy and manage distributed clouds. And as a CTO and CPO, you will led product strategy and development teams. So you are on board of directors of the GAIA-X Association, which is also super interesting. Hopefully, we can talk about this later on. And you were a chairman. You have been a chairman from 2021 to 2023. And you're not just a pioneer in digital transformation, but also an avid sailor, as I
Yes.
heard. So you enjoy exploring the fast waters with your family and taking on the challenges of sailing. So back to the song. So you selected Mortal Man. Can you share with us what combines you with a song?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, first of all, I think I love Kendrick Lamar as a whole, right? I think he's one of the greatest artists. But this particular song, I mean, I really, uh, I mean, obviously, it's this catch line, right? When shit hit
Mm,
the fan, is you still a fan? Is something that I think
yes.
is very is I feel that every it gives me power because I think this is exactly when you make the difference
Yeah.
in business but everywhere essentially when the times are difficult. Are you still pushing through? Are you still
Yeah.
not running away and thinking, yeah, I should have done it differently in the past and now I'm here? So pushing it through. And the other thing is, we didn't have 12 minutes, obviously. It's a 12-minute song, but there is a very great poem at the end. I think, so for all the listeners, it's worth to listen at once to the end.
Yes.
There's a very great poem, which I love, which is, about about the caterpillar moving to become a butterfly. And I
Yeah.
think it's a fascinating thing how people look at a caterpillar and then it becomes a butterfly, and it's a great story. It's a poem, like 2 minutes, worth listening to. So that's why I love that song, and that's why it's on my playlist.
It's great that we have this in common. Yeah, it makes me always goosebumps. Because having this reflective of I mean, it's a kind of philosophical conclusion where you question really the loyalty of people, the morality of leaders, and the burden of being seen as a voice of a generation. And it's interesting because it's a question for a whole generation. We have themes of fame, responsibility, personal fallibility. But it ends very powerful. And I think this is also important because a lot of people nowadays, they say, okay, we talk about dystopia and it's all getting bad, and it's easy to criticize, but it is so bad to criticize in a time like this where we need everybody being engaged for the good and hope and that things can go better and trust in their own power.
Yes, I totally agree. I think, I mean, there no doubt there is a a crisis, a difficult. We're in a difficult place for human mankind, actually, right?
Yeah.
But um, in small and big things, I think the attitude is like where to where is making the difference. And this attitude of, yes, it's difficult, but don't nag around, see the opportunity, go forward, is what I like about it. And that's when I think, this is when, and in my times when I ran the startup, right? I mean, running a startup is difficult because there are days where you think, how in hell am I gonna make this month? I have, it's a very tough, very direct way of running a business, right? And then it really makes the difference if you're not looking back. And I have this thing of, don't spend time looking backwards on what you could have done, but focus on the future. And those two things together, I think, really make a difference. And that's what we need today.
I completely agree with you. I think the soft skills are more important than ever. And it's interesting to hear this from a guy who started very early with the fascination by technology. But I think you have the right picture, and this is something which is super important for many people. But going back to your early life, what was your earliest memory of being fascinated by technology?
Yeah, I'm a builder by heart, right? I like to do things, build things. And I mean, it's funny because recently I cleaned up at my house, right? And I found some old things. So I had plans of, building, own boats and stuff. So as a kid, I always wanted to build stuff. So, and that's why my early days in technology, I took the old things that my parents had ran a company, and I got the old computer things. And
That's great.
I actually, I built a small local network to my best friend who lived across the street. So we dug up public ground, not asking to, and threw a cable over, and then we had like a small network where we were doing then some programming stuff on very old machines. It was back in the days. It was already old school technology, but and that was the early days. And
Wow.
and I'm in between. I also like the physical things, right? So I also bought an old car back in the days as a student, and a Mini Cooper, actually, the classic Mini Cooper, and I put it in pieces without really knowing how to put it back together.
No, wow.
And yes,
A real big one.
I did. Yeah, a normal one, like a Mini Cooper is not a big car; it's a small car, nevertheless. But it was funny because I took it apart and I thought, I don't need to kind of write down everything and take pictures. I'll memorize it because I'll put it back together in the next few weeks. It took me 2 years to put it back together, and I forgot everything. So,
but you did it? You put it together?
Yeah, I did it. It's running. I still have it. I still have it. Yes, I still have it. It's a nice little car. I'm pretty tall, so I'm 1 meters 94, but I have a special seat. So when I look to the side, I look actually through the back window out.
Oh, that's great. I mean, while you were describing, I have so many things where I thought, wow, I didn't know that we have this in common. My first car, my father gave me just a bit, really very bit of money. And he said, go to this wasting area where they have the pieces of old cars and be that charming and that clever that you build your own car. And I thought, oh my God. So it took me hours to walk over this place, see doors which fit together and a motor and all these things. In the end, I had a Passat variant, and
nice one.
yes, finally on the first drive, the left door had fall down while I was driving. So I thought, oh damn it! Okay, there was a small thing I forgot, I guess.
Yeah.
And my parents did the same when they moved to a rural area with me. I said, that's unfair. So do you have anything for me to be connected? And they put really big machines there, old ones. And as my father was also was having company, and then I was a screwdriver and trying my very best. Because my idea was that I want to get out of this something printed. That was my first idea. So it went through 3 rooms, this machine, in the end. And my parents
Yeah.
couldn't step into the one room. And,
Yeah.
and I said, you are not allowed to remove it. You have the fort that we moved here. So
Yeah, but it's like this, right? You have to have, you have to have a plan somehow, and you also have to be not afraid of, I didn't know anything about computers when we started this whole thing, right? I didn't know how, so we did it, and then, to be honest, my parents were also letting me do this whole stuff,
that's
not to
great.
call it shit, right? So they gave me, they said, they could have told us, you're not allowed to duck up, public ground, because that's what we did. Like, we had to go across the public street, and then through neighbor gardens and everything. So they could have told us, it's not allowed, you can't do that. But they said, whatever. So they gave us the freedom, which is something I highly appreciate, and that gives you a lot of that also gives you a lot of confidence, basically, right? That
Yes.
That you can do these things, and and yeah,
That's great.
That's my early days.
That's a great school of life, I'd say. I mean, I wish that all kids have parents like you, which tell them that they have the freedom to try, to freedom to
Yeah.
exposure, freedom to get their self confidence by just trying and give it a chance. And if they fail, just trying again, right? I
Yes.
mean,
And I think
it's all.
that's interesting also when you talk about this, right? I have kids myself nowadays, and this is, I think, the one thing you need to do as a parent, right? You give them the freedom, but also give them like a secure net, right? Knowing, and if they fail, nothing bad will happen, essentially, and that is something that I also try with my kids.
That's great. How old are they?
The oldest one just turned 13, and the youngest one just turned 5. So, and I have 3 of them. So the middle kid is a boy, two girls and a boy, and the boy is actually next Sunday is going to be 11.
Oh, wow. Wow, you can be proud, I guess.
Yes, I am. I'm totally, and it's it's with the one thing I thought always, and it remains the same, it's probably remaining the same throughout the whole life, is that with very few things in life, things change without you being an actor, right? I mean, in business life and personal life, you need to act in order to change things for yourself. Kids are different, right? Kids change themselves, essentially, and so it's such an important piece of your life, but still you also have to have, you have to let them evolve. And so it's you can be curious every day on how they evolve. My oldest one is now getting into puberty. It's going to be an interesting time, I'm sure. and so yeah, and this is something I'm curious about how they develop, and also sometimes, obviously, like every parent, a little bit scared, and is everything going well, but that's interesting.
But it's great that you say that and that's put this in the foreground. Let them, yes, because this is let them, and be and trust and be brave that they get there, and that they maybe need a few times to get there, but they find their own way, surely, if you let them. That's a
Absolutely.
book called Let Them. and, and the author, just in the video, she always say, let them, let them.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more to that.
As we try to judge and evaluate and analyze and give a grade, and we like to compare, and just instead of just saying, hey, give it a minute, calm down, look at it, step one step back, be relaxed, right? And with
Yes.
3, I can imagine relaxing is something with this. Maximilian, we've started talking about your childhood, but also the childhood of your kids. We figured out they can be very, very happy having you as a parent. And
I hope so.
I mean, unfortunately, they can't listen now, no, to the radio show because it is their school time, right?
Yes, absolutely. They are, and everybody is now in school. My wife is working, so the family is not listening.
So we can talk about everything. Your personal drivers. I mean, what inner drive or principle has guided you the most in your career journey? You said you were always a mover, and I mean, that's great to hear. You're also a sailor. Um, what is this inner drive or principle which tells you, uh, yeah, tells you to go, but also how to go?
Yeah, I mean that's obviously a difficult question, right? And but it's something, also reflecting a little bit the song. It's not. I don't think that in a professional place that you can expect that it's like fun every day, right? There's lots of days where it's kind of hard work, and you're not if you open your calendar, you're not necessarily looking forward to that day very precisely. But what is actually driving me is, I think, it's like I always need to have like a carrot in front of me, an impactful thing that if I think, if we as a team can achieve that, it really makes a difference, right? It's not only having delivered the next right quarter, the next right whatever, hitting our numbers is always important, but I mean, I like to be in places where there is a little bit of risk. Things can go wrong, but on the other hand, if you do it right, it also really makes a difference to the business and to the customers you work for. And that's and then it gives me this appetite to also go through difficult days and see, okay, this is why I'm doing that. And that carrot is a piece of strategic or content, right? It's not a bonus payment, some money, right? I mean, this for me, and that's, I think, if you're a founder and you're focused on an exit, it never works. So you have to, the target has to be the business you want to build, and then the rest comes naturally. And so that's what's driving me on day to day. And secondly, I always think, like it's a little bit 50-50 is the people I work with, right? I need to have people that, and running a large organization, you naturally you always work with like between 50 and 100 people, essentially, like on a day-to-day basis, right? And I had a colleague who said, I don't mind who I'm work with unless they are good. I have or effective as in the role, right? I like, for me, my work life is also part of my social life. So I like to come to work and see and enjoy the working with my team and the team of people I work with. So those two things have to be in a good balance for me. And then then I'm up and running with all the energy I have, right?
Sounds good. What do you do when you would hit a wall mentally or professionally?
Well, it happens. First of all, I think it always happens, right? It's also something which you get I get emotional about it. I know people are much more, whatever, I'm an emotional person then about it. I get angry, and sometimes, when I'm getting angry, this is like I'm not yelling at people, but I'm just, emotional about things. So obviously, what always happens is to take a step back, right? And I do that in a way that every end of the week, I write down the good, bad, and ugly of the week every Friday afternoon. And it is very helpful, to be honest, for me, because I have many weeks where Friday was a good day, and then I have many weeks of two types, right? I have good. If you have a week is a long time actually, right? And on Friday, so when I'm writing it down tonight, I'll see what comes out. But it's surprisingly often that I had a good last day or last 2 days, but then I remind myself that actually the beginning of the week was rather tough, or the other way around, right? And it helps you to get things into perspective on the business. I only do that for business, right? Not it's not a diary in a personal sense, but it helps me to kind of put things into perspective. But hitting a wall for me always means you have to hit it again. There's very little cases where I think, okay, I hit the wall now. Let's okay, whatever, change. If I think it's right, hit it again, hit it again, hit it again. And at some point, it'll move. So, especially when you work well, no, it's not. I mean, you work in large organizations, you sometimes, it takes longer to get things done, but also in a startup, right? I mean, you go to 5 customers, you get told 5 times no, you go to the 6th one, and so on and so forth. At some point, you'll get through. Yeah. So this is the 2 things, right? Putting it into perspective and running against it again.
That's a great attitude. What's a belief or mindset shift that dramatically changed the way you lead?
I think I had this experience creating a company we started with 3 or 4, and it became a company of 150 people, and now I'm leading an organization which has like a couple of thousand people. And so 2 things in terms of leadership. One is I at some point between, there's a huge difference between running a company of 15 or 25 people and 75, because at some point you will have colleagues in your team, and that's not bad, right? Who show up primarily for work because they have to, because they need a salary, right? And when you have 15 people in a startup, basically it's like a family. It's no leadership job, right? You don't have a leadership job. It's happening very naturally. But this changing then the way how you think about it and being a leader for the people rather than being a leader of the content was my first big learning. Like, when I started, and I think I'm still a content guy. I love to know what I'm talking about, but still there is a shift then where you have to focus much more on leadership of people. I'm not quite sure. It's something I struggle with, to be honest, still, because I think I could be much better. Really focusing on the people leadership aspect. So that's the one thing. And the second thing is, if you look at it, if you start to lead, leading leaders, right? That was also a learning somewhere down the road, and now obviously it's my prime role. You have to. I learned 2 things. One is delegating down a very hard problem because you can solve it, and you are happy enough to have a leader, and just basically saying you fix it is not good enough, right? So, and it actually, I'll tell you a very concrete story. Obviously, back in the days, you always had issues of hiring good people. So growth means you're always searching for good people in the technical areas to get your things done. And it was difficult. I knew it was difficult. And I basically then, once I had leaders who could take care of it, I delegate the problem down and basically told them, yeah, you have to fix it now, without and I kind of knew it's not going to work like that, but it was an easy way. So delegating down hard problems where there is no solution and just saying you fix it is not an option, right? So you need to support your leaders, although they are leaders, in the way that they are able to fix their problems, because that's one thing. The other thing is the biggest impact you can have in larger organizations is making sure you have you are really constantly looking at is there a person job fit, right? So because it's not always about a good or a bad or a performant or non-performant person. It's about the right mix, the right match. That's what I want to say. And also making sure that there is clarity about everybody has an idea about this. What somebody told me so my first team. So basically the idea of which is the team, which is my first team, which I feel as being part of, to have that clarity that your leaders feel your team as their first team, and not so much the teams they lead, right? Because that's kind of a reception for a recept for creating silos in organizations. When leaders think, in my direct leadership team, think their first team is the people they lead, and not so much the team you lead. So that's kind of the logic. These are few things that I deem to be important when it comes to leading.
I think it's a very important point. And I mean, you said also that you're emotionally involved. I mean, if you're a founder, of course you are, but also if you're so deep into it and you define not your work life as something where you completely deny any relationships and talking to people and find social interactions, right? How was it, and what lessons did selling your company teach you from leadership, but also in general, business-wise and personally?
Yeah. So general, I think this is, and obviously my wife and family sometimes gets a little bit how do I say it? Is a little bit astonished about it, but I think one of being emotionally involved, being really part, making it is one of the things that also drive quality, right? I'm there with my full heart, and obviously the startup times were a different level of intensity in that, right? Because if you create it and you develop it and so on and so forth. So that being said, to be honest, when I left the startup, somehow time was over, and it happens. And it was an interesting story because I was thinking about creating something new, and then I ended up more coincidentally by in a large company like DT. But I'm a very sticky person. And I did so I when I'm here, and but that it wasn't too hard. I somehow time was over. I did what and then I was looking for a new. I think the carrot was gone. That was the problem. And so the carrot was in a place I think I couldn't achieve it anymore. I don't know, something. The carrot was not visible for me anymore. So I had to, and then then I'm getting into this problem of thinking, okay, how should I get with the same energy and emotion to work every day? And then time was fun.
Oh. And is it something which you could maybe also, where you get also some ideas from sailing? Because I mean, you're an avid sailor, so is sailing also something which teaches you about leadership, focus, and also the right moment for decisions?
So, I mean, sailing, I love sailing, but it's I have like two things around. I used to be a dinghy sailor in my youth, right? So we two-person dinghy, and we were sailing dinghy regattas, and I loved it because it's a complex, not fully controllable thing, right? It's a technical thing. You need to make sure your boat is in the right shape. It's physics. How to trim your sails and stuff, right? And I was really spending a lot of time back in the days reading books about how this works. And we did. I and my colleague I sailed with, we were like professors on it. We had like books where we study, where we did every day, we did our tests and so on and so forth. So it's and then it's also physical, right? It's a small boat, so weight balance is important and stuff like that. So you have to move as a team together very good in order to sail the boat fast. But then it's also strategy and tactics. How do you get across the course the fastest possible way, right? And wind is changing and so on and so forth. So I love that because of the complexity, and you can't fully control it. And there are different ways to success, to be honest, right? I already said we're more like the doctors trying to to get a scientific approach to it. But others were doing it differently. They were just they had this super conviction. They are the best, and it also moves the needle because you can't scientifically solve the problem because there is wind is changing sometimes randomly. So it is a very, very interesting, complex sport, and I enjoyed it a lot. And by the way, I also enjoyed a lot to be out on the water because it's just a nice place to be. Today, and that's the second thing of sailing. Today, it's a great family place, right? You are in a boat with your family. You sail around. You see some place. It's very calm. It gets me.
Nice.
It really is the place where I can decouple from anything else, and still has a little bit of challenge, right? You have to make sure you get the boat into the harbor the right way and so on. So you carry a little bit of responsibility, keeping you on your toes, and I like that about it just as well.
That's great. I mean, we're coming to an end, unfortunately. I have so many questions I would like to ask you, but for today, if you had to give one life tip to your children for navigating a tech-driven world, what would it be?
I think and obviously the big thing people are also scared about is the whole AI, and I think it's going to change the world.
Yes.
And I do believe there is no better way than embracing it, right? I'm pretty I'm that sure this is not the end of mankind, right? But I think it's going to change every aspect of our life, and so that's why I would encourage everybody, my kids, but everybody, to embrace it and to use it, because this is, in my head, the first piece of technology where my own way of putting it into parts and understanding it in detail is going to be hard, just because it's something that is on the borders of being non-comprehensible for people, so for mankind, right? So I think it's going to be an interesting next few decades, and I'm really looking forward for my kids to embrace it and to see it, how it evolves. They're gonna have a great time too. I'm totally sure.
I love it how you see it, because I think this is the best to work with that. Thank you so much, Maximilian, to be a part of the radio show. I'm looking forward to seeing you soon again, and I'm looking forward to driving a world we love to live in together. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anabel. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.